Hey everyone, you're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash. And here's today's comic. You like that? I pull out all the stops on this channel. Challengers, number 5. Who are these people? Marion, Gillespie, Snyder, Floria, Ribeiro. All that matters here is Gillespie and Snyder, the writers. I think it's mostly Gillespie. And then Marion is the artist. Yeah, the art's really declining in this book. Obviously, if you've been following from the beginning, it started off as Andy Kubert. Everyone's like, yay! And now he's off to bigger, better projects, probably. And it's like, eh. Alright, but, on the good side, the comic is getting better. So, that being said, let's get on with the show. Alright, so first, I want to apologize. I have a little bit of a cold, so if I sound nasally, sniffly, whatever, apologize. You don't watch this for the amazing production values anyway. So, this book, if you remember where we last left off, challengers were facing off against the unknown guys. And one of the challengers was duplicated, the girl that cheats death. There was a duplicate of her. And you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? So in this issue, we go back to the beginning. Remember the plane flying towards the island? We're close. It was uncharted territory. We must press on. And if you cannot, I will... I'll think of you chasing scraps of a myth with only the vaguest notion of what I would find. That's hardly unique, though. It's in the job description. And so here we have the unknown man entering the mountain. So we kind of come full circle in the story. Alright, so if you remember, there's this giant skeleton statue. His bones make up these powerful magical artifacts that Prof is chasing down. And they control time and space, give you ultimate power. The way I think of it is kind of like the Infinity Gems, in a sense. Not exactly, but a very similar concept. So we see the unknown guy. We didn't see this part. This is, this is a different part that we didn't see in the original story. We're now seeing a different angle of it. We're seeing him unwrap. Dun dun dun! The unknown guy is actually Prof. What the hell? So he's been following this he's trying to get this statue, or not statue, gosh. My head cold is affecting my head. The skeleton, he's trying to reconstruct it for the power, just like regular Prof is, but his motives may not be the same. And he's got that piece that we saw. And I'm gonna spoil this book, but I'm not gonna 100%. I'm not gonna just read the story to you. I do want you to read it. And by the way, this is a recommend. I'll go over my final review, but it's not a bad book. It is a positive review. And I am going to go through, and you're going to see some spoilers on the story. But I'm going to leave a lot of the detail for you to enjoy yourself if you decide this is for you. Hopefully this is a book. Hopefully two things. Either A, hopefully it's a book I turn you on to. Or B, it's a book you're already reading and you're just kind of following along this to see what my thoughts of the book were. And see if my perspective matched yours and so forth. So, shows up, he's got this thing. And what the hell's going on? And then there's the pilot. So he shows up and he makes some quip about, I forget where, but somewhere I told you I'd see you again. And we go to the now. So this was the past, back to the present, what's going on. We've got actual Prof. Now this is one thing that is a little bit confusing. Look at this panel here. You've got the two guys. This is wearing the brown jacket, mummy rags. That's him. Current Prof, black jacket, more hipster looking, is, I guess, the good Prof. Who knows? So they're fighting. If you remember, they faced off. And you didn't know that this was Prof before. You might have guessed it, but this is all you could really identify him as. But now you can see he's got, I don't know if you see on camera, he's got these like orange lines on his face. Just like this Prof. So that's how you can identify for sure. And there it is closely. So this Prof is out trying to unravel. He's trying to get the artifacts for himself as well. And this book has a very Indiana Jones-ish styling to it. I was really kind of digging it. This might be my favorite issue so far. Not because it, on its own single merit, if you just pick this book up and read it, would be the best. But the first 4 issues are sort of build up so that this story could be told. And I appreciate that. Some people really just want to be able to pick up a comic book, get a quick story, and be done. I'd rather have a long story. I'd rather have the build up. I'd rather put up with a few boring issues that add to a really phenomenal payoff. I'm doing the Zach thing. Phenomenal payoff versus just a good issue. Anyways, so these guys are arguing over their own philosophies. I'll let you read those yourself. And here's the big skeleton in full thing. It's flying. And it's New Challengers, Part 5. Scott Snyder, I do not think is writing this. I think he came up with the basic concept for the story. I think he maybe did the original plot outline. I think Aaron Gillespie's handling all the actual script and the finer details, because this is some sloppy stuff. It doesn't feel as well done as a Scott Snyder book does. But it's not terrible. It's just, there's a lot of pieces where I was confused as how the dialogue flowed or some of the narrative, and it just was kind of chunky. And it just had that less skilled polish. So here we go, and there's, Trina was the girl's name that cheats death. Here's Evil Trina, I guess. And they're going to fight off, and it's a nice big fight scene, and it's like, oh, you did this! And they're going to fight, and last issue, I was like, this is going to be really cool. You've got 2 characters who cheat death. How are they going to fight each other? Like, they'll find ways of cheating death, and I was like, that's going to be a really great concept. And it's going to be scary for those around him, because if you know, when she cheats death, basically death comes and collects to someone else. Someone else has to pay the price. So it's not just a great, their power is kind of a curse. And so we get the fight. I'll let you read the whole thing, but I'm going to spoil right here. She kills Trina with one shot. Evil Trina. And splat. And I was like, wait a second. You created this really great concept of a character with a certain power fighting the same power. This could have been a whole book of how are you going to defeat this, and it'd been really interesting. And then it's like, oh, bang, to the head, dead. Whatever. I guess that wasn't the part of the story. They weren't, obviously the writers weren't intending to do that. But you hooked me on this, and then I go like, oh. So then the story goes on, and they're kind of like, we got to get out of here. We don't know what to do. They think Prof's betrayed them. Everything's crumbling down. They're turning to Moses. You know, he's like, hold on. They're like, we don't got time to hold on. So he's talking about he's hacked into some security footage, and he finds out that, like, there they are, and he's like, oh, there's that guy. He looks just like Prof, but how is that possible? So now the challengers are sort of unraveling the mystery for themselves of what's going on, along with you, the reader. So they get on the skeleton, which we already saw, and the skeleton takes off into space. Meanwhile, in the dark multiverse, back in time, we see the original challengers, Prof's challengers, and they're fighting off some stuff. I don't know what this guy is. They make a comment about him. Dealing with Dark Ultivac should be their job. Like, I'm assuming people know who that is. I don't. I have a feeling that there's a lot of inside references to old school Challengers. Like if you were a fan of that, you'd see some stuff. And I get the sense that Scott Snyder went through the old school Challengers and read stuff and said, what if this was the reason for that and this was the reason for that? And sort of like mined it for all this stuff and sort of said, let's turn it on its head and then give you the explanations that readers never thought, put it in the modern day comics with all these twists and turns. That's what I sense. I don't know because I didn't read it, but it's working for me. So here's Prof again, and this is where it gets confusing. So we now have 3 Profs, right? We've got, we'll call him Modern Prof, Modern Good Guy Hipster Prof, which we all started off with, Unknown Prof, and then Old School Prof. Now, as a writer, this is difficult to be juggling around because this character is bouncing around. There's a multiverse of characters, and each one comes from a different multiverse, and it gets kind of confusing. And this is a difficult challenge for a good writer. Aaron Gillespie handles it okay. It was enough to where I was able to, like, if I slowed down, reread a panel, I was able to kind of follow along and not get totally lost. But be advised about that. It's not going to be a simple read. But I think that complexity makes for a more interesting story instead of just like, hey, look, bad guy, punch to the face. Like, there's a complex plot going on, which I appreciated. So then they bounce around Space Sector 1904 now. So we've got current challengers. They've escaped with the last fragment, and they're trying to get away because they feel that they don't know what's going on, but they think it's a good idea probably not to let the final fragment come into place, final Infinity Stone or whatever, you know. So they're like, let's get it and go. Meanwhile, Prof and Unknown Prof show up with the skeleton, and they're gonna get it. Trina manages to make a force field, and everyone's like, whoa, you made a force field? How did that happen? Which this was cool for me because before this, like, the challengers were just like, oh, it's 4 people in jumpsuits, and they don't seem very interesting. But now if they're manifesting different powers and they can do different things, now as a comic book fan, I'm more, oh, what's going on? And I like that. I like that we knew she could cheat death from her original power, if you will, or pre-challenger ability. And now she can make force fields as her post-challenger ability. So you find out they're trying to kill. There's both Profs. One is the prisoner of the other, however. And Unknown Prof is given a bunch of monologue like villains do. He's like, give me the pylon and we can talk. We can't let him take it. Everyone, concentrate on sending it far away. Then he tells them, oh, your mastery of the power is impressive for people so new to this. So their challenger power allows them to do various things. Somehow they got a Ray moment and just learned how to use the Force without anyone ever teaching them. Whatever, but it's comic book. Okay, I'm all for forgiving. So we go Challengers Mountain, then back in time. So this comic book is bouncing around all over the place. You really have to pay attention to this because visually, it's not. This page could follow this page visually, like, you know. So we have Unknown Prof before he got ugly. So again, another thing you had to pay attention to, this clothing. You could think that that's, you know. So back in the past, he's got his little henchman guys bringing a fragment through. We got Roman soldiers chasing him. They throw an arrow, kills both of them. They lie dead, except Prof is able to cheat death. That's his whole thing with his power. He has used his power to learn how to make himself anew. But of course, the people with him aren't so lucky, so they suffer the consequences. He cheats death. Which makes me think, now that I'm thinking about all this, makes me think Trina might become the new prof. I don't know, that's weird. So, he pulls this thing out. Now, here's another interesting thing. Each time he recreates himself, he creates an unknown. Every time he recreates himself to cheat death, he creates one of these unknown people. So the very first unknown is figuring this out, and he talks about all the pain that he has to go through and all this stuff. And he gets together with all the other unknown to stop this and stop Prof's madness. And so he's explaining this to the current challengers and say, oh, your Prof's a madman. See, look, you don't know the whole story. And they're like, he's like, challengers, I don't even try, scumbag. We've seen what pylons can do with our own eyes, but you don't understand. I didn't ask for this. The Prof from your multiverse used dark energy to heal himself as he nearly died. That act pulled me into your multiverse. Imagine it. By no fault of my own, I woke up in your world. I had no time to learn why or how my body had already begun to decay. But after I was able to quell that pain, I realized that there was a whole new world to explore. So many unknowns to conquer. But I was alone, cut off from my own challengers, my family. My only goal was to find the challengers so that we could explore this realm together. Can't you understand that? At what cost, you maniac? And this was starting to kind of rub me a little bit weird, because being around social media in comic books and being a Comicsgate supporter myself, I just deal with a lot of SJWs, and their mentality is so judgmental. It's so like, I've got one fraction of a piece of information and I am judging everything on this. I saw one person on the internet act like an asshole, so all Comicsgate is Hitler. Like, that's, and this sort of attitude, it's like this, it's the same mentality. Now, this book is not SJW at all. Like, I'm not trying to portray that is the case. I'm just saying that the same thought process, that mentality, it's like, come on, this is a Prof. Like, you're immediately, because one guy, a bad guy, who killed somebody, told you something, you immediately like, oh yeah, he's evil then. This guy says you're evil, gonna crucify you. Like, that's not how normal people think. So, that annoyed me. So they give him their whole thing, like, oh, I was this and that, and blah, 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 and he's like, oh, I'm really sorry. Moses, talk to them, I know you understand. And he actually gets through to Moses. Makes Moses really cool, because Moses apparently is the only person who's rational on the team. And he tells Crunch to heal. I thought that was funny. Crunch, heal. What, you got a better plan? I think this would have been a better word balloon if he would have somehow copied on, like, instead of just like heal, like accepting it, been like, what the fuck, I ain't no dog, like, who are you telling to heal? You know, I don't know. I did think it was funny he said that. Better plan of sorts, and he grasps his hand and boom, just implodes unknown Prof's face. Nasty. Darth Vader, you ain't got nothing on this. Alright, so beat me to the punch, my man. Moses, what the hell? He said he could fix things, and I have a chance to make my first life mean something after that other Prof stole it from me. I'm sorry, but that's not even a choice. Thank you, Moses. Come inside and let's initiate the endgame. So he got the final fragment. With this final shard, we'll have enough power to open up the rift between your reality and mine. And when my team joins us, we'll be able to accomplish anything. And he puts it into place. We will achieve what you've yearned for since childhood. The control and safety that come with complete knowledge. Together, Moses. And then the eyes of the skeleton light up. We have obliterated the unknown. Wham! And so That's the final page. Next, Darkness Falls. I believe that's going to be the final issue, at least of the story arc. I have not heard that this is being canceled. However, DC does like to stealth cancel things, so who knows. But there is at least one more issue to go. It makes sense. It feels like there's one more issue of this particular story. This is on the cusp of the final conflict. And I really enjoyed it. So, there we have Challengers, DC's new Challengers, Out of Time. I really like this. And, I mean, there's some caveats. The art's kind of meh. The writing, chunky. And kind of unpolished. So, this is a recommend. I'm going to recommend it with 3 stars. And you say, oh, yeah, that's not... You just said you really liked it. I did. 3 stars is good. 3 stars is what a comic should be. And when I say 3 stars, also consider this. If this is your style of comic book, if you're into this, add a star. Because if, for example, I don't like Wonder Woman, right? So if I read an equivalent quality Wonder Woman at 3 stars, I'd be less interested. Even though they're both 3-star books, I'd be like, man, I don't really want to... I'm not going to... I'm sure the Wonder Womans that are out there are 3 stars. I've heard some really good things. Steve Orlando was doing it. I really like what he's doing on Unknown. But I'm just not interested in that character. So this is like 3 stars plus, if you like the Challengers, if you like what's going on, then just add a star. Like it's more for you. You're going to get more excitement out of it than just the rating entails. Furthermore, I can't really give this a 4-star rating because the writing and the art, like, I am having to subjectively overcome those 2 things. But you may not be able to. I don't know. I can't speak for your taste. I can say that what this comic was trying to do was good things. I really see the potential. I feel like they were definitely trying to bring together something good. And this is a worthy comic book. This is something you should be happy to get in your pull list, read through and go, you know what? I didn't waste my money. This book is just getting better. It's entertaining every week. It's not the best book in the world, but if you think every comic you buy needs to be the best, you're always going to be disappointed. Okay? This is fun. This is, like I said, even though it's not the best quality, when you nitpick all the details, was my favorite issue to read. This part of the story was really building to something, and all the mystery and things that were happening before where you didn't really understand, you're like, I get what's going on. Oh, holy crap. And it was a fun adventure. Could have been better, man. If Scott Snyder himself was doing all the script and dialogue and everything, I think it would have been more polished. Imagine if Andy Kubert was doing the art. This would have been a 4-star book. But, hey, not going to complain. I'm enjoying it. Also, come on. Let's remember something, guys. $2.99. DC's doing it right. This is a book that should be on your pull list. Started off rocky. A lot of people are like, issue 1 of Challengers bored me to tears. I get it. But by the time you get to issue 5, you're like, oh, it's coming together. This origin story is fun. I can't wait for number 6. Thank you guys for watching, hearing me blab, listen to my sniffle, and have a froggy voice. Come again, comment, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Hit me up on Twitter, whatever you want to do. Plug your own channels. I'd love to see your channels too. And keep reading comics. Thanks.